We, the members of this panel, we are happy and proud that God has given us this opportunity to be with you in this beautiful land of Guyana or wherever you are. We say welcome, and we trust in the Caribbean and further feel that God will meet with you as you sit back, relax, and enjoy this program. So we thank you for your viewership, and we welcome you at this time. Stay tuned. God bless you.
It is no secret that Guyana has the resources and the potential to expand, to grow, to develop. And many persons would have said this over and over again, but a partisan behavior or approach will not cause us to maximize those resources and to do extremely well as a nation. What we need is teamwork, and the teamwork must take place at the highest level, right down to the bottom. We need teamwork. I think we have a motto which says, together we can do the extraordinary. And so there are some elements that we need to see become operational in our society if we are going to progress. We need to see commitment. It's very important where people are committed to a process of development. We need to see trust. And we spoke extensively on the old notion of trust and the impact that it has on a society. So people need to trust one another. We need to see coordination. That's so important. We can't be working in pockets, but our efforts must be a coordinated approach. There must be assessment. There must be vigilance. We have to be watchful, and we can recall in Exodus, I think it's Exodus 17, when Moses' hand fell, when he became tired. You know, they brought a stool, and Aaron and Hur, they held his hands up, and then they won the battle because they were losing every time his hands fell. And so there had to be men there who had to be vigilant. Men had to be noticing this thing. And they made a strategic move that resulted in Israel's winning that battle. There must be interaction and communication. People must talk to one another. They must interact with one another if we're going to get the kind of progress. And what is the result of all of this? Or what are the results? We will see efficiency, a greater quality output in our resources will be maximized. There will be a bigger pool of ideas, you know, out there for us to draw from. You know, we will see people, you know, getting opportunities to contribute and not to be put in a corner. And so the benefits are enormous, even as we engage strategically in this practice of teamwork. Gentlemen.
Well, we're talking about teamwork. As we were looking at this concept, we sort of examined if we could find something that is real, working, actual, something that's happening in our world, and we can explore this concept and present this concept to us. Now, Formula One racing, we talked about that. And you probably know some of the names. The media would show up the names like Hamilton, Vettel, and some of the other names. These guys drive their vehicles close to 233 miles per hour. It's unbelievable that in a race, humans could drive so fast and be able to do it. And you have millions of people around the world watching. They must have nerves of steel to be able to take a car through all of that. They're flying low. And while the media, the focus of the media is on the driver, the winner, in order for him to win, in order for him to cross that line, you have a whole team assembled. And if they malfunction, we will not see that driver. So whenever we think, for example, the gentleman who's leading in this race, is a Britisher named Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton. It is not Lewis Hamilton alone tearing up around the track. He has got a team. Now I want us to take, you might be watching this program, you're a bank manager, you are a farmer, because people are saying leadership is perhaps just an urban thing, urban middle class thing. Listen, in every facet of society, you have leadership. Whether you catch a pato in the background, if you go and catch a pato by yourself, a caiman might hold on to you. So it makes sense that you go with a buddy or you go with a small team. If you're planting rice, whatever you're doing in your home, one of you might be performing the role of Lewis Hamilton, you're the driver. But if you fool yourself to believe that you're the most important person and you don't need them, you can run the fuel. All right? And when you need a tire change, who will change it? So we are all, whether you are the family level, coming right up through the community and right up into the nation, you know who the driver is. That driver cannot win the race by himself. And the driver must know this, whoever he might be wearing the title of president, could be wearing the title of minister, could be wearing the title of opposition, could be wearing a whole set of titles, bank manager, surgeon. You might be the lead of the team. But it is not dependent, the victory is not just, or success is not just dependent on your work. There are a whole set of people who are important, and we have to learn how to pull together. That's what we are talking about.
So what can we learn from the two examples, the biblical example and the example from the sporting arena? Strategic planning is critical to success. Having an understanding of the terrain in which we are going to race this vehicle will help us to determine the type of tires that we will use on the vehicle, which will help us to understand the sustainability, how fast I can drive, how I can take my corners, and the speed, all these things. So if not just the driver, but if the technical team does not have an understanding of the environment in which the race is going to be taking place, then we can set ourselves to suffer and we can lose. The same thing we see in the biblical example with Moses. Aaron and Hur having an understanding, though they were men in the battle fighting, we realized that this battle was not going to be won just because we had good fighting men, but it was a strategic plan for them to understand that the upholding of Moses' hands was critical to their success.
Moses was the driver. The general down there was Joshua, doing a terrific job with his soldiers. But they quickly observed that once Moses had his hands up, the battle went in the direction of his fighting men down in the valley. But he's just one man. And all leaders must understand this. You are just one man. Every leader, you're just one man. And Moses found himself, hands up. And because he's a man, he got tired. And so his hands started falling. Notwithstanding how decorated Joshua was. Every time Moses' hands fell, there was a direct correlation between the movement of the hand and the state of the battle. Meaning, if the hand up, Moses, the children of Israel, winning. If the hand came down, something happened. The battle went in the other direction. So, you had a few good men. And in every organization, every structure, we need a few good men.
That's right.
Not just the leader. I counted around when those Formula One cars, when they go into the pit, you have about 20 men standing, 4 with tires. I don't know what the others doing, but they're there, each performing a critical function. And would you believe it? The world record for pit stop is 1.9 seconds. Changing 4 tires, refueling the vehicle. I can't even get my head around it. Now, Moses, those few good men, they came and they put something for Moses to sit on because they figure out it's not Joshua in this battle. It's this old man up here with this gray beard. And we got to keep him. So we got to hold his hand up. You know, we got to keep his hand up. Now, could you imagine in this country, who's holding up, who's the leader, and who holding up the leader's hand? You know, let's analyze that in your family.
Yeah.
Who is the leader? Who's holding up his or her hand or her hand? And let's try to figure out, if we don't hold the leader's hand up, we keep going wrong in circles.
You know, everybody can't be the leader at the same time. And so this is where the power of the concept of there's a concept known as the division of labor, where there's a recognition that people have different skills or skill sets, and you have to operate within your skill set in order for progress to come about. You know, some people say, well, jack of all trades and master of none. At some point in time, you have to hold on to a particular area that you might be very skillful in and bring that skill to the fore. And so, can you imagine the men who understand things about the wheel, for example, in the Formula One, the race, there are men who understand about the wheel, fitting the wheels. There are men who understand about fueling the vehicle. There are men who understand about the gauge, checking the gauge and the brake system and so on. So all of those men, when they come together as a unit, looking at a specific task, we can see how progressive a situation. All of us can't be the head at the same time.
You know, you need to make a critical distinction between, you know, sometimes people focus on how much spotlight you get to determine whether the criticality of your task. But understanding that irrespective of the size of the task, we must recognize that overall and within the team, it serves the team well. So it's not the size of the task, but recognizing how critical your role is will help the team. So the driver gets the spotlight, but the persons in the pit, they are the ones who ensure he has the right amount of fuel, the tires, they have the right gauge or the tire pressure and all of that, and everything is set for him to perform. So similarly in leadership, we have to resolve within ourselves that you and I, we have important role and task to perform to support the overall plan for the objective of the team.
So
Pastor Lee,
the
examples that you gave, and Pastor Hudson, about leadership, even though the spotlight may not be on you, I believe teamwork helps to develop self-leadership. Because you have to, those men with the tires, you have to bring your A game every time.
Amen.
And I'm reminded of the scripture in Romans 12, I think verse 4, which speaks about we all have one body, but many members. Yes, and they do not all have the same function. Can you imagine the eye saying to the foot today, well, you see to me today, you know, or you perform my function today. And so it is very, very important for us to understand that we all have a part to play. We complement each other. And as we do that, we will display teamwork.
Anybody could tell me the timings and the persons who come and move a car when it crash? They have a whole team for that too. Just look.
Put it off the track.
The track clear again.
Well, of course, they will suspend the actual race. They'll put a caution because to remove that debris might take a little while. So they put out some kind of notice, and the drivers know, and they all slow down. And they remove the debris, and then they remove the slick, the oil slick, and so on.
That is teamwork again, so.
Teamwork again, and not only teamwork, order and discipline. Because if you have some people who decide, I am going to disregard the stewards putting out of the flag, and I will keep driving.
Yeah.
You imagine? So in every system, you need discipline, you need order, and you need respect for authority.
Yeah.
So, or else we have some serious problems.
So you made mention earlier about the importance also when the drivers on the field getting messages from the people. So even though, okay, you say, well, okay, the people who fix the tires and so on, that's finished, you still have to maintain that communication line.
There is a command center.
As you speak with the command center.
Yeah, with the engineers and the team leaders speaking and advising the driver about weather, changing weather, because of changing weather, because they have a direct relation to the tire that they're using, and on all those kinds of situations. So they are in constant communication, and this brings us to the point to recognize that all leaders need not just timely information, but accurate information, up-to-date information. Now, there's some leaders who go off on a frolic of their own, where they believe that the information they have yesterday's information, and they're trying to make a decision today. Could you imagine if a leader operates in this world that is so dynamic, with last year's information, trying to make a pronouncement? His company will fail. If we put a man like that to manage sugar or rice or bauxite or whatever the case may be, this person got last year's information and trying to manage and make a decision this year, you're in trouble. People need timely and accurate information.
I think we're making a case here for watchdogs. I believe, just as in the Formula One scenario where there are some guys doing monitoring and saying, watch your tires, watch your brakes, you're wearing them out. In the same way for the nation, we need persons who will speak to the driver. Because at some point, the drivers believe that they know that they're going on this particular path and this is the way to do it. But then somebody will realize, yes, you are heading for this goal, but you are burning your tires too fast. So that's why watchdogs should be always present and be listened to as well. There's no point having the watchdogs and not paying attention, because if you don't pay attention to them, before you know it, you may run out of fuel.
For the team to accomplish, we need to appreciate each other's gift and contribution that each individual brings to that table. You know, sometimes we neglect or we put aside people because we think they are not important or valuable enough to the team for the and the contribution they make. We don't need that. But for the development of that team, for the success of that team, we need to appreciate each one of us have different skills, different abilities, and we all would contribute so that that team could be a success.
You see, in Formula One, there is an atmosphere and an attitude that everyone, every member is necessary. And as a result of that, each one has a contribution to make and must make it effectively and efficiently. If we were to transpose that into national development, company development, sometimes that kind of atmosphere and attitude does not really exist, where you don't have the mindset that this is a team and we must work as a team. Let me use Guyana, for example. Whoever the leader is, the leader can't lead by himself or herself. For national development to take place, there must be an atmosphere as a team, as a people. We all need that. And so we have to continue to cultivate that kind of environment where, as a people, we are working together. We can't have the motto, one people, one nation, one destiny, and you doing your own thing in your corner. It seems as if you building a different Guyana or I am building a different Guyana. We must work as a team.
That's why I love Jesus. Jesus, he trained 12 persons, and that 12 person was a powerhouse. That was teamwork. That was teamwork. When demons see them, they're running. No jamboree for the demons. Giddy up, move away.
You know,
Jesus.
This is a powerful spiritual principle. The Apostle Paul speaking to a young man we entrusted into major leadership. Timothy was a young man's name. He wrote, and I want to just quote 2 Timothy 2:2. And Paul said to this young man, and the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust this to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others also. Now, some people only use the spiritual application, but look at the principle. The principle is not spiritual, you know. The application becomes spiritual. But there's a principle there. If we want continuity, longevity, sustainability, this instruction here is that we have to be witnesses, number one. When I was a youngster, I got a job like in a mechanic, my first kind of job. And I was watching, you know, you get a little job. And I was watching this mechanic do his work. And I never saw when he repaired, actually did the repair. I was there whenever he was doing whatever he had to do. But at the critical point when he did the repair, he sent me for a spanner. And then he called a number, go and find a 1060. I don't know what kind of spanners. He sent me for a spanner. I'm in the toolbox searching. And by the time I come back, he said, don't matter that. And I looked, the whole thing is working. No, I was never a witness to the solution. I am only a witness to the problem. I think one of our major problems in this country is too many people who are leaders, they have never seen solutions. They're only familiar with problems. Therefore, when they're given a task to provide solutions, they don't know how. Because when the solution was applied, they were sent to get a tool, get a spanner. Now hear this advice here. You have heard me state many principles in the presence of many witnesses. You have been there, you've seen it. Your job is to entrust. It's a relay. Your job is to entrust what you have seen, not just to anybody. You notice that? Not just you just pull people in. You have to find reliable. The King James says faithful people. You have to find reliable people who will be qualified to teach others also. So we have people, those guys who change those tires, they're faithful, they're reliable, they're qualified. Those guys who put that fuel in can't be, you know, moon gazing when that car comes in the pit. Those guys who are monitoring the screen when those drivers are out there tearing up that track at 200 plus miles an hour, they need to be focused on that. They can't be thinking about, I wonder what wife doing now. You know, I wonder, you know, what will happen here now. You have to be focused, or else the team would lose, the driver would crash. And similarly, we have this injunction here. Let us look for these people. And let's identify them and release them.
Think about Hamilton. He is preparing the day before the race. And he might have had some run-in with one of the guys. You think he's going to come out there the next morning and trust that man? You got to do it. Yes. Because it's a team. You got to put aside that issue that was the day before and deal with the matter at hand. Sometimes you got to put aside things that happened in the past in order to produce in the future.
I think about Jethro and Moses. You know, Moses and Jethro, Moses' father-in-law giving him some advice and says, you'll kill yourself if you work you alone. You need to get leaders who will listen to these problems. And so sometimes we want to do it all by ourselves. You know, it's like I'm living in a house and I have a wife. I know I can't do it by myself. So
yeah, you can do it by yourself. No trouble. You can do it by yourself. And then you face the consequences.
To the members of clean, I would like to encourage that the part is never greater than the whole. You know, I can imagine the fuel man saying, you know who's me? This race can't go on without me. I'm the big Kahuna. To the front man, the whole is just the sum of the parts. So it behoves front one, front leader, front man, members of the team to humble yourself to the cause. Humble yourself to this vision. And it must be one vision. Anything other than one vision is the vision. And so we need to ensure that we are on the same page. We play the music from the same score. That's the only way we'll be able to move forward as a nation.
You know, I was really struck by the fact they had an election in Canada the other day. It almost seemed to be a non-issue for them. And the night they reported, they announced that there was a change in the government. A 42-year-old man, 43-year-old, somewhere around that one, and there was evidence that he was congratulated immediately, and he also called. You know, Canada won. There was a change there was a change in the leadership, but the nation won. We have to explore those kinds of dynamics. That in the event of, you know, what we've had, we're still in the election mode. Guyana must win. We have to go beyond that. And you're dealing with external problems, internal problems, and somehow you're trying to forge ahead. You talk about watchdogs. We need to have those who will say to everyone, because it's not one person, to everyone, let us allow this country to breathe. Let's allow this country to win. Let's go forward. And the advice that Moses gave, that Jethro gave to Moses, my son, you know, what you're doing here, you will lose your life. You wouldn't live very long. You need to find reliable men. Same advice that Paul gave to Timothy. And we need to give people a chance to do what they have been assigned to do, whether it be in the family, in the farm, the factory, in the office, or even in the highest office. We'll see you next week. This is Choices. God bless you.
We thank you for being part of